You know what would be cool
Tell me.
is if we had a Scarif Scuttlebutt blanket that I could put behind me with that symbol in it right there, that logo.
You know
Just
what?
in the
You know what's funny? I have a buddy that does blankets, and when my son was born, he gave me a really nice blanket with like trains and cars and his name on it.
nice
I'll ask him.
limited edition. Make like 10. We'll give them to our Patreons.
Yeah. Oh, there we are. We're live. Hey.
Oh, nice. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Let's see if anybody comes by. You know, it'd be cool. So this service is called StreamYard, and it's what Drunk 3PO uses. He's the one that told me about it. And,
It's YouTube got rid of Google Hangouts, so this is the next best thing, which this is actually arguably better. I didn't really like Google Hangouts that much.
I think I used it once, and it was a little convoluted.
Yeah.
But this is really cool because you can add graphics, and I made an overlay, and
yeah, that's super cool. Way better.
All right. Angela just liked my post that says, "Join us. It is your destiny." Maybe they'll stop by. Maybe somebody will stop by.
Clever.
So, how was your day? Did you work today?
I did not. I had to run a couple errands, and I got to go to the DMV. I had
to the DMV.
Yeah.
Get your paperwork in order.
Yeah, I got everything in order, and I went and I got my ticket, and they were like, "It's gonna be like 5 or 6 hours." I was like, "Okay," so I left, and then I had another appointment, and they called my number, or they texted me and said I was next in line while I was at my other appointment, and I was like, "Well, that sucks."
Oh, wow.
So I didn't go, so I got to go again tomorrow.
That sucks.
But nobody wants to hear us talk about the DMV. What comic books are we talking about today? Which ones do you have? I have the Leia, not Leia. I'm sorry, the Rey one, Age of Resistance, and the Snoke one.
I just bought the Rey. So again, guys, we are testing this out. So far, it's just you and me, man.
That's all right.
So
I like talking to you, so it's good.
Yeah. Ollie is at work, so Ollie says he would join us, but he's still working. They must work 24 hours a day in Canada. That's how they get free healthcare.
I was gonna say something. I'm like, I shouldn't get political.
Yeah. So I let me see here. I got a goodie bag here of some items that I picked up.
I like that one. Who is this doctor? Yeah, whatever, how you want to say it.
She is she's a rogue archaeologist. She's kind of like the Indiana Jones of Star Wars.
Oh, I dig that.
Yeah.
Does she go and look for like Sith artifacts and stuff?
Yeah, something like that. She's kind of like an anti-hero.
Okay.
She's got some really cool droids, like assassin droids that she works with. I don't follow her or buy her book regularly, but dude, that cover.
Yeah, I dig that cover.
But yeah, Brad,
I do that.
Yeah, Brad showed this to me a while ago. This is an older issue, but the new one everybody's saying is fantastic. Dr. Afra number 36. I have not read this yet, but I'm going to try to catch up. I've got a couple of other ones sitting in my bin, but we'll see. Yeah, I also picked up Rey, Age of Resistance.
Yep.
And if anybody joins us tonight, I will give out the digital code to a lucky viewer.
The one lucky viewer.
One lucky viewer, but yeah. It might be you. You know, the other thing that kind of caught my eye as I was walking through the aisles of my local comic book shop is this.
JJ's Spider-Man comic book.
Yeah, I did not know that him and his son were getting together to write this story.
Yep.
And Spider-Man has been a favorite of mine since I was but a wee lad. And I said, what the hell? I'll pick it up. So the guy explained to me what the story kind of is, and it was kind of intriguing. So I'll read that. Hey, Frammy. Hi, Ro. Hi, Alex. Frammy says he'll join us. Look, there he goes. There's your comment. It's working. Working so far. So let's see. We just saw your tweet and thought we'd join you both for some Scarif goodness this evening. Oh, totally.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Mess with this for a minute. I've never done this before. People use this upside down, right?
Yeah. I mean, you sound great. That's a great mic.
Actually, I got a... Oh, now my dogs are barking. I've got another one I just bought because I got some... Look at that fancy thing.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, it's pretty.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have three guests on for the SNP, starting a weekly thing. So I'm
gearing up
for it.
So do you guys do it both in the same location? Not
yeah, I'm a stickler for that. I don't know what it is exactly. I like the idea of having everybody in the same room and having people to interact with face to face. This works really well, but I don't know. There's something about being in the room with somebody. I feel like it gives better content. And
it helps since both of you guys are in Vegas. I'm in Chicago. It's a little difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Prawns have joined us. Thank you very much, Amy and Mr. Prawn. How are you guys?
Oh, hey, yeah, I recognize that name. How you doing, guys? It's good to hear from you.
And yes, it is the first time that we're using this YouTube thing. Created some graphics and put together a little graphics package, as they say in my line of business. But we're just testing it out.
We're both pulling off the George Lucas flannel shirt.
Yeah, right? That's funny. I had a quick question for anybody that might know. I just went to the thrift store, and you know how I love hashtag Star Wars thrifting? I found this guy, and I can't remember his name. And I'm wondering if anybody knows.
Oh, that's the guy from episode 4, right? He wiped his mouth. He was drinking something. And he wiped his mouth. I know exactly where he's from. I don't know what his name is.
Tarantula guy.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to have to Google it.
Yeah. Guys, we are definitely having a good time. And even more so because...
Channeling your inner George.
Yeah. Channeling our inner George. Yep. Exactly.
That's good.
Did you get a haircut? Just recently?
A couple weeks ago, I think. Yeah. Probably since the last time you saw me.
Probably, yeah.
A little shorter on the sides here.
Yeah, no, I got one this morning. So excellent. So guys, we were sitting here. We're trying to kind of figure the system out, but we are having a good time. We were just talking about the Captain Afras, and it's good stuff. I'm caught up. Anybody else into comic books? I think, we are, we're going to be talking about Age of Resistance. I just picked up the Ray Age of Resistance, and the cover looks great. What do you think about these Age of Resistance, these one-shots? It's they're kind of cool. I mean, as with anything, it's kind of hit or miss. But what do you think?
I mean, I'm always down for more stories if they're any good. My worry is that like we were discussing amongst ourselves in the chat room, that they're sometimes they make these to fill in some gaps that the movies fail to present in a story. So it almost feels like they're kind of retroactively trying to fill in the story where it should have been filled in before. So that's a valid criticism from people who don't really particularly like these stories. But I mean, they're going to be made. They're going to Disney and Marvel or whoever's. Is it Marvel still making these comics?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Marvel's going to make these comics, and they're going to pass it off to whatever writer and artist. So it doesn't bother me. Whatever they want to tell is fine, as long as they're not retconning anything set up from the George Lucas era. If they're not changing things about the original trilogy, then they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. People don't like when you use the R word, Alex.
Retcon?
Yeah, I think a couple of podcasts ago, I said the word retcon, and everybody's like, "Don't say retcon; it's all fine."
Well, they're going to retcon things. I mean, even the original trilogy had a couple tweaks here and there, so whatever. As long as it's better, that's all I'm asking. Just make it better.
Yeah. So what did you catch up on the Age of Resistance, the Supreme Leader Snoke episode or comic book?
Yes. Yep.
I just finished it last night, and I think Ollie was telling me that it was Muftak.
Oh,
that's his name.
Thank you,
guys.
Oh, Muftak. Somebody commented it. I was going to say that just pop into your head.
Yeah.
Muftak.
The little cantina dude. Muftak. Nice. I'll put him over here with the my stormtrooper. No.
That sounded heavy. What is that thing made out of?
It's an action figure, but he's got like wide hips. So he's got kind of
got some girth,
nice little girth there. Yeah. But Frammy, thank you guys for asking the Google. It's great. And but yeah, the Snoke. Ollie was telling me that he read it and he was a little confused. But again, these one shots, they're pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that these one shots are probably, from a film length version. They're like 10 minutes, like a 10-minute story. I don't think they offer a lot per se, but our guests are saying that they've seen a lot of screen grabs from the internet.
Yeah.
So even if you don't pick it up, I'm sure people like us are doing reviews all over the place, and it's interesting. So we know that Snoke is kind of a dickweed. He's an abuser. He's just a bad guy. What did you think of the? His methods are very, schoolyard bully towards Kylo. Somebody had posted that, obviously Kylo in The Force Awakens and everything, he's been portrayed as the bad guy, and we didn't know anything about Snoke, but this kind of reveals a little bit more where Snoke is, Snoke is the bad guy, obviously, but Kylo Ren seems to be a victim at this point, especially with this book coming out. What did you take away from that?
Well,
especially the beginning of that. It's very, very harsh, very abusive towards Kylo.
You talking about the part where he threw him off the cliff? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. I don't know why they didn't want him to be a Sith. That kind of training method is very Sith. Like Bane, Plagueis, Palpatine, they all do that to their apprentices. That's kind of as per usual for Sith Lords, But for whatever reason, they didn't want Snoke to be a Sith, so now it kind of just doesn't make any sense. But I actually kind of like that scene where he threw him down. And he's like, "You weren't going to save me," and he's like, "No, because I need you to basically be better, sink or swim. I'm not going to be Luke. I'm going to be harsher." So I kind of like that a little bit.
I get it.
I just, this episode or this comic actually brought up more questions for me than it answered.
Yeah.
We still don't really know anything about who Snoke is. We already knew that he was training, or he was the master of Kylo Ren, so that's not new information. And he doesn't really offer anything besides showing us how he trained Kylo. So I don't know. And how did he know about Dagobah? Did he know Luke? Like, these are the questions that we want to know. How's he know about all this stuff?
Yeah.
How's he know about original trilogy things like the dark side cave on Dagobah? Like, that's a real minute detail, especially in a galaxy as expansive as Star Wars. So he would have had to have known Luke personally or Yoda personally. Those are the only two people who know about that cave. Maybe Obi-Wan, but he's dead before that. So I don't know. Like I said, it just brings up a lot more questions than it answered for me. What did you think? Did you like that stuff?
I mean, I was intrigued at Snoke as a character from the beginning. It's just a shame that we didn't get to know a little bit more. He's obviously a mysterious character. Now, you had mentioned that they didn't want him to be a Sith, but I can't remember who coined this phrase and where it came from. As far as what Snoke means, is almost like an acronym. He's a Sith no one knew existed.
Is that for real?
Well, I mean, somebody said that, and it fits. I mean, if Snoke was there from the beginning and watched the Empire form and just waited in the shadows, I mean, if Palpatine was manipulative and patient, then Snoke takes the cake for that, because, he had to wait for Palpatine to do his thing before, taking over the galaxy as Supreme Leader Snoke. So it's very interesting. We'll see where this goes. I don't know where it would go.
Yeah. Let's see what else. I have a couple things written down about that. Oh, the ring. Okay, so the ring is featured prominently several times throughout this comic. Real close up of his hands. Hey, look at my hand. Look at this giant ring pop that I have on my finger.
Grape flavored.
Yeah. So there's a lot of speculation as to what that is. I know Star Wars Theory has done multiple videos about it. It's a piece of obsidian from Darth Vader's castle.
Right.
That's canon. That's actually legitimate from Lucasfilm canon, that it is a piece of obsidian from Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? As far as, does it give any powers to him, or is it used in some kind of a ritual, or maybe some way strengthens his force abilities? We don't know. These are the kinds of things that I would expect to be answered in a Snoke it's titled it's his comic book. So these are the types of things I want to know. But instead they focus a lot on Kylo Ren and his relationship with his parents. We saw him in the cave where he faced his greatest fears was Luke. He conquered that fear, but then he faced his parents, which I think it was, I don't know. Are we doing spoilers?
I mean, it's been out for a while.
Okay.
What do you want?
Spoiler alert. So he sees Han and Leia in this cave, and instead of killing him the way he killed Luke, it's a hallucination, but still, instead of killing them, he kind of fakes Snoke out. He tricks him into thinking that he did, and then to cover his tracks, he destroys the cave. Which, I mean, that kind of broke my heart a little bit, that they destroyed the cave that Luke was on in Empire Strikes Back, but whatever. And also it shows just how crazy powerful Kylo Ren is, or Ben Solo. Like, we haven't really seen Jedi do that in the movies especially, but I mean, I'm sure they're in the comics, things are always kind of exaggerated a bit as far as power levels goes. But yeah, I mean, he just blew like a crater in this area. So that's a lot of strength in that kid.
That is true. It did surprise me. It did surprise me that he destroyed the tree. What did you think of the image of Han and Leia in the tree?
I'm trying to think what it looked like. They were young, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Han looked a little young. That might have just been the art style, but it was definitely Han and Leia from, maybe right before The Force Awakens. But they were trying to, convince him that his name wasn't Kylo, it was Ben. Mm-hmm. They were trying to tell him that he was loved. I mean, so obviously something happened. within that family dynamic for Kylo to just, you know, reject his family and idolize Darth Vader.
Yeah. Do you remember the book Bloodlines by Claudia Gray?
Yeah.
So that what you're talking about there is brought up a lot into in that book, and it kind of explores. Kylo didn't know that Darth Vader was his grandfather until he was almost pushing 20 something, I think.
Right.
And he wasn't told by his family. He was told by an outside source. Like he found out. Like basically, it's like watching a very personal thing be shown on CNN. Like you're just watching the news and you're like, holy crap, that's my grandfather's Darth Vader, and you're seeing it on public instead of your family telling you. And he kind of that kind of sprung board, and then Snoke took him in and manipulated him, and it kind of went from there. So that's the backstory for that.
And so let me ask you a follow-up question as far as what your thoughts are. You see that horrible news on CNN, and you realize wow, my grandfather was a bad guy. Why would you idolize him then? Why would you talk to his mask and want to finish what he began? And do you think that's all him, or do you think that's the dynamic of the family, or do you think that's Snoke really reaching deep inside him to try to manipulate him?
I don't know. I don't know how much I would put on Snoke because we have no frame of reference for that. I mean, that's like trying to say after watching Empire Strikes Back and saying, "Oh, Palpatine was the reason why Darth Vader cut off Luke's hand." Like maybe, but we have no way of knowing. I think he felt betrayed. It was already established that he had a rocky relationship with Han. He didn't feel like he was a good father to him. So that coupled with realizing that your family's been lying to you your whole life, and then couple that on top of Snoke, and then you already have this dark side tendency because of your lineage. You're super powerful. You don't have any outlet for this power. I would assume, based on his personality with his temper tantrums and stuff, is that he had a hard time holding that back, and he was always forced to by either Luke or Leia. He was always told to hold that down, keep that anger inside, don't show it. And he finally just kind of blew up, and then he became Kylo Ren, which I'd like to know who the heck Ren is. The Knights of Ren. Who is this Kylo Ren person? Where did he get that name from? Like, these are the things. If you're going to have a comic about a character, this is the type of stuff that I want to know.
Well, I think Age of Resistance, Kylo Ren is also out today. I didn't either today or Friday or Thursday. I think that comes out tomorrow. Maybe we'll see. But
Okay.
Frank and Amy says, do we know just how much of Vader's story is known by Ben? I think that was covered. You had covered that briefly. But yeah, the book talks about it. The Claudia Gray book talks about it.
Let me just add a little something in there. This is a question that's kind of been rolling around in my head for a while, and I'm not sure if anybody knows if there has been an official answer to it. But I was wondering what Kylo Ren knew about Return of the Jedi with Luke facing Vader. Kylo idolizes Vader as being this super powerful dark side user. He's a Sith Lord, all that stuff. But does he know that he turned back to the good in Return of the Jedi? So the question is, like, will that revelation change his attitude towards him? Like, if somebody were to say, "Do you know what your grandfather did? He saved Luke from the Emperor. He destroyed the Empire. Like, that was his legacy." And it's almost like a slap in the face because he doesn't know that. So he's worshiping the version of Vader that was the evil one instead of the good one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Frank and Amy also said, finish. When Kylo Ren says, "I'm going to finish what you started," that might also mean finishing off Palpatine. But I would counter by saying that nobody knows that Palpatine is still around. So that wouldn't apply to that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's something that would have had to have been brought up in 8 to make any sense if they would have continued that line. Having it in 9, maybe they might be able to kind of string it along, but I'm not sure. I always took, I don't know, man, finish what you started. That's a mysterious line.
Yeah.
We really don't know what he means by that. We don't even know what it was that Darth Vader started. We have some comics that are diving super deep into the nerdy side about him opening portals and changing the past and stuff like that. But I don't think the movies are going to dive into that. That's too nerdy for a general audience.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that, Vader was trying to do something, and you said it. He was trying to open that portal to bring Padme back, or bring people back from the dead, or not go back in time, but for those of us that have seen the Rebels episode "World Between Worlds," there's there's an area that the Force works in a fluid motion where all events in time and space happen at the same time. You just have to pick where. So, and the game Vader Immortal, the storyline there is also about Vader trying to find a way to set up this portal. And there's a character in there too that everybody's saying is Snoke, and I can't remember the guy's name. But when I saw him the first time, I'm like, that guy looks familiar.
Is he super tall, thin?
Yeah, he looks exactly like Snoke, except he's in Vader's prison, and he knows what Vader's doing. You'll have to Google, but it's very
I gotta play that game, but I'm not gonna jump on a Oculus Rift just to do that.
When we'll play it when you get to Chicago.
Yes,
for sure. But Vader Immortal is an interesting storyline. It's really exhilarating. But I mean, there's a lot of things in the sequel trilogy that I'll just say it this way. Narratively, it doesn't make it. The pieces don't connect for me. The Luke's motivation, Kylo's obsession with Darth Vader, all these things that are basically the basis for this new story, and it almost seems like they're blaming it all. All the motivations are derived from Snoke's influence, and Luke really didn't mean to kill his nephew. It was influenced by Snoke. Snoke made him think about that, and he thought about it for half a second, and then, obviously Snoke is manipulating Kylo. Snoke seems to be manipulating everyone, including the writer of the sequel trilogy, I would say. But no, I mean, tongue in cheek, it's, episode 9 is going to be, besides it being 3 hours long, it's going to have to explain a lot, because at this point, do you honestly feel that we're, getting ready to see the third movie in this trilogy? Do you honestly feel that you know any more now than back when The Force Awakens was released? Other than Snoke is now dead, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, we're admittedly a bit about this subject, so I don't know if we're the best to be asking, but yeah, I agree with you. It feels very, and also, you're also talking about a timeline that's like a couple of days at most. So you have no extra room for these characters to grow in between movies. So like a lot of what we know about Luke between episode 4 and episode 5, we were like, oh, there's a couple of years, so he could have done this, and he could have been training, he could have been talking to Obi-Wan a little bit more, and this and that. Like, there's things that you can kind of piece together in this missing time gap. But because there is no time gap between 7 and 8, there's no room for fans to kind of speculate what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. So this next one is going to be there's going to be some time in between the end of The Last Jedi and the beginning of the rise of Skywalker. So that should be interesting.
I was going to comment on your Snoke theory about him manipulating Luke and kind of being the puppet master behind everything. There is an actual expanded universe legacy, whatever you want to call it. I think it was in one of the books. where Palpatine was actually focusing his energy on making sure that the Imperial fleet was fighting at its full force. And when he died is when the Imperials fell off. And my 5-year-old is trying to come into the... Can you guys hear that?
We hear some like
knocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's knocking on the garage door. Anyway, it's very distracting. He was in charge of he was using the Force to manipulate the Imperial fleet, and when he died, they all just kind of fell off, and that's what helped them lose the battle, or that's what helped the Resistance win, even though they were outnumbered. Just because they destroyed the Death Star, why did all the rest of the Imperials stop fighting? It was because they lost that connection through the Force to Palpatine, and they just lost their will to fight. They're like, we're out of here. Peace.
Yeah. So Frank and Amy says Andy Serkis said that Snoke had always been aware of every detail of what had occurred during the Empire's rise and I assume fall. We really do need to know who he is. We definitely need to know who he is. Hey, give him a high five for me too. Hi, little Alex. What's his name?
His name's Andrew. Here.
Andrew.
Here. Oh, you're going to run away? You shy? There's like 5,000 people watching right now.
Minus 4,992.
All right. Hold on 1 second.
But yeah, it seems like everybody knows, all the people behind the scenes know a little more than the audience. And that's kind of interesting. I would really love to know who Snoke is. Again, they say that he's been there from the beginning. He watched the Empire rise and fall, as Frank and Amy said. So who is this guy? You know, when Rogue One came out, they had that shot when you first saw Vader in the Bacta tank, and that priest guy, they had a nice shot of him saying, Lord Vader, Krennic is here. And I thought, well, maybe that guy is Snoke. He's been there, you know, he took care of Vader throughout his defeat on Mustafar. Maybe that guy's Snoke. But who knows? Do you guys think that we will finally get the answers to who is Snoke in The Rise of Skywalker? Will we know?
I don't know. My opinion is that I don't think they're going to focus on a dead storyline. They've already they've already replaced him with Palpatine, so they're going to focus on that. I mean, as unfortunate as it is, because I liked Snoke, I like Andy Serkis, so I'm going to be like, Snoke would be so cool to have more information on and see him throughout all 3 movies, but he's dead, and as far as we can tell, there's no real connection past that point to what's going to happen in the next movie. Yes, we're talking about Star Wars.
What else is there to talk about?
My wife calls it the most redundant subject ever.
Yeah. But
anyway.
yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, we talked a little bit about the podcast that we are prepping, episode 10, a 3-hour Star Wars movie. What do you think about that?
I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Short answer. Yeah, we're good to go.
As long as it's is deserved. As long as it's deserved. Like the 3-hour movie has to be oh my god. It has to be, it's like Return of the King. Like Return of the King was a super long movie, so it has to be deserved. It has to be like, this story is so grandiose and wonderful that we need 3 hours to wrap it up, which I'm down for. I'm good. So it's the Skywalker. Yeah. It's the Skywalker saga. So it should be that grandiose. It should be bigger than Return of the King because there was 5 extra movies before that.
Sure.
So bring it on. Bring it on. As long as it's good, man. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Infinity War was pretty long, and it didn't seem long. The story was well paced. It didn't seem long to me, so I would definitely welcome a 3-hour, or what does Frammy say, an 8-hour Star Wars movie? Yeah. Sure. Well, I think we're gonna get an 8-hour Star Wars project in The Mandalorian, right?
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, isn't that going to be? It's going to be an 8-part series.
Yeah,
The
8
first
episodes.
season, 8 episodes. So yeah, Frammy, 8 hours of Star Wars. But you know what though? We're gonna get Star Wars fatigue.
I doubt it. If it's good, I doubt it. I mean, if they're bad, then yeah, we'll probably get burnt out. But if you give us good stories and fun entertainment, uh, the more the better. So I'll pose a question to you. It was brought up one time with a friend of mine. He said that Star Wars can't be Star Wars without the Force, without Jedi and the Sith, that eternal good versus evil battle. So he was questioning whether or not the Mandalorian was going to feel as much like Star Wars as it should without those two elements. So what do you think about that?
Star Wars. Wait, say that again.
So the Mandalorian, as far as we know, is not going to have anything to do with the Force or Jedi or Sith. It's just going to be Western bounty hunters, space opera saga or space adventure. So his argument was, without the Jedi and the Sith, it's not really Star Wars. It's just another generic sci-fi. Do you agree with that, or do you think it can still feel like Star Wars without that spiritual element of the Force?
I think it can definitely feel like Star Wars. I mean, Rogue One, besides Vader at the end, really didn't have any Jedi or Sith lore. It was an exciting film that dealt with a mission that these rebels had to undertake against the Empire. It was, again, I think it was an extension of the battle between good and evil, and I think that's Star Wars in a nutshell. I was listening to a podcast, the soundtrack show, kind of some of their back catalog, and they had some interviews with George Lucas in some of their earlier episodes, just about how George Lucas brought this fairy tale back into play because young people were disenfranchised with their government, with society. He wanted something good in entertainment, bringing fairy tales back. So, I don't think that Star Wars should be delegated to, if it doesn't have Sith or Jedi, then it's not Star Wars because, the Sith and Jedi exist in this world that is bigger than just them. Episode 1 and the prequels had a lot of politics in it, and I love that. You got the underworld with Han Solo and stuff like that. So I think the Sith and Jedi are a very important component of Star Wars per se, but I don't think if we don't see them, I don't agree with the notion that it's not a Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a solid argument. I agree with that. It was funny you mentioned about in the 70s having young kids being disenfranchised with the government and not having a place to escape, and George Lucas wanted to provide that for them. I mean, how much more so is that relevant today? I think it's arguably maybe more relevant. Kids are just constantly inundated with politics and just down and dirty worldly influences. They don't have anywhere to escape to, and more recently, the content that we have been getting has been injected with these same politics that we're trying to escape from. So I hope that Star Wars can once again represent that escapism. And even though I don't agree that the original trilogy was devoid of politics, of course there was politics in it, but it wasn't in your face. It was a little bit more subdued, and it was definitely took a back seat to the adventure and the fun of it all. What are you doing?
I totally agree.
What are you doing, little Wookie?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But yeah, I agree. I agree. And again, I mean, Rogue One was. I know you guys have heard me say this. Rogue One is a love letter to Star Wars fans. But let's see, what comments do we have? Is there a particular character that you'd both like to see hit the screen?
Dad, it's white and blue. My We're cowards.
You know, I just listened to WSTR Media's interview with Michelle at the Fulcrum broadcast, and they obviously talked about Ahsoka Tano, and we were both kind of talking about that a while ago regarding bringing Ahsoka Tano to live action and how kind of weird that would be, because I mean she's a very unique character, and I think in order to bring her to the big screen in live action, it should be a combination of makeup and special effects. Her look is very unique, and I think if it's fully CGI, it wouldn't hit. If it were fully, you know, like Ahmed Best wearing foam, it just that wouldn't fly either. So you know, Ahsoka is obviously a very favorite character among a lot of people. I'm not sure if the world is ready for a live action Ahsoka. She works great in comic books and cartoons and novels and books. But as far as like any other character, who would you pick? What character would you like to see?
I'm kind of I'd like to see some legacy characters. Even if they're not the main character, but just kind of have them in this world. If you were going to have something set up, do you remember it was the crime lord that took over after oh God, how am I brain farting on this name? Jabba the Hutt. After Jabba the Hutt died, there was another cartel member that took over. I think his last name was Card. I can't remember his name. He was in the Thrawn trilogy. He was the one that Mara Jade was working for. And I can't remember his first name. His last name is Card, something Card. I'll have to look it up. And anyway, I'd like to see him in the world, not as a main character, but maybe as some kind of an influence. You know, kind of like how you have Darth Maul running Crimson Dawn. Have this guy running a separate syndicate that maybe has some influence in a couple of them, like the Cassian Andor series. You know, we can have him in there. You can pretty much put him anywhere. It doesn't have to be relegated to any specific time. And then, of course, I'd love to see Kyle Katarn and his whole crew. Yes, yeah, she just commented right now. Kyle Katarn, yes, 100%. I'd like to see him in some kind of an post Return of the Jedi series, anywhere really, TV or a movie. And then there was one other, Dash Rendar.
Don't forget, Hot Kalis. What's his name?
I don't know. Who are you talking about?
The guy from Rebels. Hot Kalis. The
What's he look like?
The Imperial officer.
Look out with the big mutton chops.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So when he turned into a rebel sympathizer, you know, the Raylo shippers decided to call him Hot Kalis.
Oh, the shippers. Gotta love them.
But yeah, Kanan would be also somebody really cool. You know, Kanan's I can't remember his name. Kanan's master. She was in the prequel trilogy. It was a female Jedi, and I think that would be kind of cool to visit. Yeah, you guys know what I mean. What was her name? Anyways, so yeah, so later on, I bought Rey Age of Resistance #1. You guys that are joining us, I'm going to give away the digital code for Rey Age of Resistance #1 one shot, and here it is. And for you guys to check it out, it just came out today. We'll at the end of the night we'll give that out. Yes, Deepa Bilaba is her name. The Kanan's master. Did you put him to bed?
Yeah. He just filled the dog's food bowl up till it was like overflowing. I'm like, Whatever.
That's
Kids.
funny.
What were we talking about? Age of Resistance, right? Ray's comic.
Yeah, just a raised comic. I was going to give out the digital code. Yeah, those Jedi Master names get really weird. But hey, that's Star Wars.
Yeah, I always find it funny when people complain about somebody's name, like, "Oh, this is such a stupid." I'm like, "Do you know what franchise you're watching?"
Although I will have to say, when I first heard that the villain for the new Star Wars movies was going to be named Snoke, I thought of what's that TV reality person, Snooki?
Snooki.
Yeah,
He's wearing gold robes, slippers. Yeah, I could see that.
exactly. So
it's a weird name. I always assumed before The Last Jedi, I always assumed that it was like some kind of a code name or something. Supreme Leader Snoke. I was dead set that he was going to be Plagueis. I was like, that's got to be Plagueis, right?
yeah,
because the only thing that led me to believe that was that they decanonized the Darth Plagueis novel, which was awesome. If you haven't read that, go watch that. So he was a different race of alien, the race that had like the really oddly shaped long heads. Can't remember what the name of them were, like dunes or boons or something like that. And they were like, well, it can't be Plagueis because he's not that race. And I'm like, yeah, but they decanonized that novel, so they can make him whatever race they want. He's still super tall. Plagueis from the other novels was super tall. So I was connecting all kinds of dots. I was like, that's got to be Plagueis. How cool would that be? Plagueis survived, cities and went off and regained his strength and came back and took over after his apprentice died off. So I thought that was going to be an awesome storyline to follow.
Yeah. Frammy just said Plagueis was a moon.
Yes, moon.
Now, is that the same race that is it Cad Bane?
No. Cad Bane's the blue guy with the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not the same race. Do you remember the Clone Wars? Okay, so the Clone Wars, when Padme had to go to the banking system and get money. Those guys that had like the really oddly shaped long heads, they were real tall. They ran the whole Iron Bank or whatever it was called in Star Wars. That's his race. He was a member of that bank system or whatever. That's where he got his fortune too. He was super rich, if I remember correctly. He was very, very prominent in the political force. Nobody else knew he was a Sith. Kind of very similar to how Palpatine disguised himself.
The guys at Blue Bantha Milk says we look good, but they can't hear us because they're at work, and we can sign.
I'm working on it, just a little bit.
But yeah, definitely. It's like 10 o'clock my time. I think they're in Australia, so they're in the future.
I love Australia. I've always wanted to go there.
Yeah. The banking clan. That's funny. Oh, hold on a second. Keep talking. I got to make a sign.
Okay. You got to make a sign? Oh, God. Yeah, the banking clan. Yeah, it's Plagueis. I mean, how cool would it have been if Snoke was Plagueis, came back and took over the Empire after Palpatine had died off, and he found this is going to be my theory about the sequel trilogy. Comes back, takes over the remnants of the Empire, builds his strength up, finds this cloning facility on Jakku where Rey is, and he's trying to track down all the Force users he can so that he can turn them to the dark side and make this giant Sith army and go after the Blue Bantha Milk. Good son. That was my idea for where the sequels were going to go. As far as when we saw the first trailer for The Force Awakens, and after The Force Awakens, I was like, oh, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It would be so cool. And then we got what we got, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll see what 9 has to do.
Yeah. We got a great international audience here. We got Carl from New Zealand. Carl, how you doing?
What's up, buddy?
And
I love New Zealand. You guys are so lucky. I just found out that the Lord of the Rings Amazon series is going to be filmed in New Zealand again. They're going back old school to the Lord of the Rings area with the hobbits and it's a beautiful country that you live in. So good for you. I'm jealous.
Stay hydrated, everyone. I would love to visit New Zealand one day. Carl, you still have to show us how you hung your AT-AT from our artist friend John Rodriguez, and hopefully that you're enjoying that frame, that picture. I did a cruise sip of water thing.
Mm.
So, Frank and Amy, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni did say that at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, that some Legend material was going to be brought back in. Yeah, I think that would be great. And Jon Favreau says that he wants to redo the Star Wars Holiday Special. I'm all for that too.
Go for it. Why not?
Why not? Yeah. Let's see here. What else? What else? I mean, so looks like Mar made it to Lucasfilm.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me go shut this dog up. But yeah, that was interesting. After a couple of tweets with some fairly strong language throughout, she gets invited to Star Wars show. Paint me jealous.
Right? And you know how I feel about Star Wars show.
Yeah, that's a bit odd, man. It happens so fast. It was like within a couple of days. Like she does this tweet thread and gets a bunch of attention, and then all of a sudden she's in California at the studio like that. I mean, I try not to be overly conspiratorial. What's the word? Conspiratorial. Yeah. I try not to get too deep into the weeds, but that seems a bit too much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to believe that. You guys will hear if you leave it in the podcast. We talked about this, and I said like, "Hey, it's a fan being a fan. Who cares? Leave it alone. It's not a big deal. Good for her for enjoying the movies." And that's kind of how I left it. And then I'll go online and I see all this stuff about her being on the Star Wars show. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. At first, I heard that people were getting on her for being a new Star Wars fan, and I tweeted from the channel, shame on you, etc., blah blah blah. But then I backed off a little bit because I started to, kind of dive into her tweets and things like that, and I felt maybe I should just leave this alone. But it after a while, it did seem kind of fishy to me, anyways. But hey, she got in somehow. And that's cool. But, if it's all genuine, then, yeah, that's cool. Having a Star Wars fan discover Star Wars, something that we've known, the rest of us have known for a long time, I think that's fantastic. But, I recently had a discussion with somebody, and obviously Star Wars fandom is not all, roses and unicorns. But, good for her for discovering it, and she'll get to know us sooner or later.
Hopefully. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's like you said, if it is genuine and if it is all real, 100%. That's great. Fantastic. Go enjoy Star Wars. Find something. A new fan is born every day. So why not? But yeah, just a little fishy. Something about it doesn't sit right, but I'm not gonna overly stress about it. It is what it is.
So Frammy just posted a comment, and I'm not sure if this was they said, "I'm not sure anyone on the face of the planet isn't aware of who Darth Vader is, fan or not." My wife is not a fan of Star Wars at all, and she knows who Darth Vader is. But yeah,
it's impossible not to know. I mean, unless you're talking about very, very young kids who maybe be unaware and watch the movie for the first time or something like that. I think besides that, if you're a grown adult and you don't know, you just must be really, really disconnected from popular culture. No Twitter, no Instagram, you had to have seen him on a picture somewhere. He's all over the place, you know.
living under a rock.
Yeah.
But
so she didn't know who Darth Vader was. Is that what you guys are saying?
I think maybe there was a tweet early on that obviously she's never seen a film and she started from the ground up and didn't know. Find it highly suspicious.
Yeah, I didn't. I can understand not seeing the movies. Sometimes people just don't see the movies, and then going through them one by one. But like you said, not even knowing who the character is, that seems a bit over the top. Trying to oversell it. I don't know.
Totally. But we are. So we're getting episode 10 of the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast ready to go. What is today? Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have it done tomorrow. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Maybe tomorrow night or Friday, but definitely in the next couple of days. That's crazy. Episode 10. We're in the double digits. What do you think, Alex?
Super awesome. When did I get in? On episode 3 or 4, I think. So yeah, it's been great, man. It's been one of the best experiences that I've had so far doing podcasts and stuff like that. I have my own, which I'm failing at because I don't post very often. But it's good to have the backup and the support. Ro, you're awesome at taking care of business and getting things done. And I can come in here and share my voice, share my opinions, and then I hand it off to you, and you work your magic, and you make the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast sound like a fully paid for and sponsored production.
And again, just because I'm a production guy, that's kind of what I want to hear, especially coming from our voices. Between you, me, and Brad, I think we have good chemistry and good things to say about Star Wars, and a good thing to offer fans and listeners to our show.
Yeah, I hope so. It seems like everybody likes it, or most people who comment, they enjoy the content. We try to be the voice of the middle ground. I think I tweeted that out the other day on my Imperial Entanglements Twitter. I said I don't like the extreme hatred, criticism of every little detail. Oh my God, Rey holds her sword backwards. How dare he? Like, who cares? And then on the other side, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's a masterpiece, everything's wonderful. Like, no, there's a middle ground. There has to be some some rational criticism along with some good old fashioned excitement as a fan. So I want to keep it that way. I'm glad that I found you who was like-minded. So it's good to have that. And then we can, hopefully give people something to listen to that they don't have to, that doesn't irritate them or upset them, or like, oh, there's another hot take, or oh, here's another complaint. Instead, you can give some rational back and forth and be a real human being and not a Twitter troll.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, starting the podcast during Star Wars Celebration here in Chicago, I've come to know a lot of people that were here in my city that follow the podcast now, obviously, like Frank and Amy. Hey, doggy.
It's my Wookiee.
And it is a shame that I didn't bump into these people, when Star Wars was here. Folks like, I did bump into Hyperspace and Holocrons, Chad. He is one of our Patreon supporters. Thank you, Chad. Charlie Skywalker, I'm not sure if he was in Chicago, but yeah, it's really a shame that we didn't bump into to Frank and Amy. They're two of our a really nice small group of mega supporters, I might say. And but we're glad that you guys found the podcast. We're glad that we're interacting, and that's the greatest part of this podcast is really interacting with people that follow us. I think it's fantastic. I think we've grown in this short amount of time when it comes to followers, and I hope we continue to do this.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I think we're on the right track, man. We keep this up, keep this momentum that we have going, and maybe I can afford to buy something nicer in my background so I can have some Star Wars content, a couple of action figures or something. But yeah, it'll be a ton of fun, a good ride. I can't wait until November's around the corner. We're going to get the Mandalorian. We've got episode 9 coming. We'll be doing commentaries and all that stuff, reviews. Hopefully, are we down for doing reviews for every episode of the Mandalorian?
Yes, yes, and you know what? Well, we should do it in this platform. I think people might like seeing us besides just hearing us, and I think this is a little bit more immediate than us putting together that podcast. Obviously, it takes a while because I put a lot into it. So the weekly reviews. All right, Carl, we'll see you later. Enjoy your work day. Thank you very much for stopping by. But yeah, I think this is a perfect platform to do a weekly review. I think it'll be perfect.
I'm down. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really, really looking forward to this show. I think it's going to be a nice jolt of energy that Star Wars needs right before episode 9 comes out. Kind of get the juices flowing, get things going again. And similar to how Colin Trevorrow dropped that wonderful Jurassic World little short film. It's something to just kind of get people talking and get people moving again and get the juices flowing, like I said. So I'm down, and I can't wait to do the reviews. I've never actually done a week-by-week review before, so that's going to be really fun and exciting. I've always wanted to. I've listened to a ton of podcasts who review shows, so I can't wait to kind of jump into that game.
Frank and Amy, we are not going to Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. Unfortunately, I consider myself lucky that Celebration last year or this year was in Chicago. It saved me a ton of money, and I was able to enjoy the fruits of my media connections. I went every day and interacted with a lot of great people. So that was very, very lucky of me to have done so. Obviously, working for NBC here in Chicago. We did a lot of cool stuff with the reporters and the rest of my colleagues at the TV station. But yeah, Anaheim would be really great. Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
I live a couple hours away from Anaheim, maybe 5 or 6 hours away. Probably 5. And
still a hike.
It's a bit. It's not too bad, though. I can do the drive in a weekend. I might have an opportunity to go this year. I haven't worked out all the details yet, so that's why I haven't really announced anything. But if it ends up that I do, I will absolutely represent the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast when I do go, and I'll try to get some sound bites and some interviews with people. And if I'm lucky enough, maybe I'll get to talk to some of the actors. I will pay up to go talk to a couple of those stars just to get their impressions and get a soundbite and talk to them and shake their hand and stuff. I went to a Star Trek convention here where I live, and I got a chance to meet Captain Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and William Shatner. So that was pretty cool, and I'd like to do something like that again. It was a nice experience. So if I get the chance to go to Anaheim, I will definitely do everything in my power to jump in there and do some reporting for everybody for the Scarif Scuttlebutt.
And Frank and Amy says, will be great to catch your reports if you go, Alex. And speaking of which, I think at the end of this month, I submitted my the media passes for Anaheim. So if they approve me, watch your mailbox.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay. Are we signing off? Or are we gonna keep going?
I don't know. We can. I mean, what time is it? I don't even know what time is it.
It's 8 my time. So that's what, 10 o'clock your time?
10 o'clock my time. Yeah, I guess we can sign out. This has been really great to have you guys here. Thank you very much.
I want to pose one question right before we sign off, just to kind of close the night out on a positive note. Who is your favorite actor that is in the sequel trilogy? Which one do you think is the most genuine in their fandom for Star Wars? Maybe that's a bad question. Maybe just which one is your favorite? Who do you like the best? You like John Boyega, whether it's Daisy Ridley or Oscar Isaac. Who's your
I
go-to?
think I think my go-to would be Daisy Ridley. Off screen, she's great. She's got a great attitude. I like her character. I like Rey as a character in the sequel trilogy. Um, so I would have to say Daisy Ridley. Um, yeah, I mean they're all great.
I think for me, I think the one that I enjoy watching, especially on social media and his reaction with fans and stuff, is I'm gonna butcher his name. Junis
Yeah,
Sumato, Sutamau. I don't know how to say his last name, but guy who plays Chewbacca, he took over for Peter Mayhew, and I think there probably could not be a better choice for somebody to take over Peter's role in Star Wars. I think he does a great job. He's really, really genuine. He loves Star Wars, loves the fans, and he's got a heart of gold, just like Peter did. So it's good to see somebody in that role that I personally believe is probably the best fit, both personality wise and in the movies themselves. So I'm super happy to have him aboard with the sequels and further on with all these spin-offs and stuff. Chewie's always going to be around, so it's good. I'm glad that we've got somebody like him.
I would have to agree with you. I think there's no better replacement for Peter Mayhew than this new actor. I think he embodies the personage that is Chewbacca to a T.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chewie stole the game, the show in the Han Solo movie. I think I really saw even a young Peter Mayhew in the portrayal of Chewbacca in the Solo standalone movie.
Yeah.
It was a delight to witness, and looking forward to Chewbacca in Episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
There were all these damn rumors about the demise of Chewbacca, and obviously in the expanded universe, he did die with Story. I think a planet fell on him or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he saved a young Anakin Skywalker, not Anakin Skywalker, but Anakin Jr. or whatever. And by doing so, he sacrificed himself, and a moon came down and killed him. Which I thought that's a little over the top, but
I'm looking forward to more Chewie.
Yeah. They said Peter trained Jonas brilliantly. Yes, they did. I liked how much he respected Peter when he was alive. You saw Jonas always be around him and talking to him and talking about how he was a mentor to him. So I really liked that. It was a good. And I don't think they're going to kill off Chewie. Chewie's the family dog, man. You can't kill off the family dog.
Totally. And he's at Galaxy's Edge. He's right there.
Yeah. He's not going anywhere.
So, thank you guys. We're going to sign off. Again, this was kind of a little test for our YouTube live channel, and I think it was a success. Thank you to Frank and Amy for joining us, and Blue Bantha Milk, and Carl from New Zealand. And we hope to see you guys again. We're going to do this again. I don't know when, but like I said, this is a test of the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. And we had a lot of fun. We always have fun when we talk Star Wars.
Yes.
So episode 10, watch for it in the next couple of days. I am working my ass off to bring that to you guys. And Brad is back. Hashtag Team Scarif is together. I think for the first time, no? Or is this the first time where all three of us are together?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Episode 10. The Big 10 is all three of us back.
That's fantastic.
Fully armed and operational podcast.
And we'll hear a little bit more of that at the beginning of episode 10 with a new little Palpatine intro. That's fantastic. But yes, everybody, have a great evening wherever you are. If you're on the other side of the planet, good morning or good night into the future. And that's the Scuttlebutt.